First this morning, Hurricane Ian strengthens to a Category 4 as it takes aim at Florida. 11 Alive meteorologist Chessie McNeil has details on the storm shift and explains how the current track could impact Georgia.
Plus, Governor Brian Kemp issues a state of emergency ahead of the storm. We have new details on when it takes effect and a look at how FEMA is preparing here in Atlanta.
And Georgia Power wants to flip the switch for rate hike. How you can make sure your voice is heard before that decision is made.
11 Alive Morning News starts now.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. It is Wednesday, September 28th. I'm Aisha Howard.
Good morning. I'm Cheryl Preheim here with Atlanta's traffic expert Crash Clark. A lot of people will be coming into Georgia from Florida.
Yeah, we've got some good news what GDOT is doing for the express lanes, so you're going to want to pay attention to that.
All right, meteorologist Chessie McNeil busy tracking Ian, upgraded to a Category 4 hurricane now.
That is a major hurricane. It was a major hurricane in Category 3, but now a Category 4. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's getting very, very close to the Fort Myers area where we're expecting it to make landfall, at least around that area later on today. And then it will make its way further off to the north. Now, we won't see its impacts until we get to Friday, Saturday, that kind of time frame. So we have fair skies out there right now, a few high, thin clouds. That's about it. And temperatures are on the cool side. I'm going to show you that in just a bit. Here is where the storm is right now. You see well down here into southern Florida, but making its way toward the coastline. There's Fort Myers right there. Here's the eye, or the center of circulation. It will continue to slide up to the northeast, make its way inland and then further up toward the Daytona Beach before it goes offshore and then back inland as it moves into, let's say, the northern coastline of Georgia, possibly as we head into late Friday. All right, here's the latest track from the Hurricane Center. You can see those winds again up to 140 miles per hour. There is the latest track. So it moves up toward Daytona and then out to the Atlantic Ocean before bending back toward our northern coastline and then further off toward the north over toward South Carolina and North Carolina as we head into Sunday, Monday, that time frame. So notice the cone of uncertainty has pushed a little bit further to the east, which means a little bit better scenario for us as far as the rainfall and the winds, the impact from that. Now, we will have some wind gusts and we will have some rain, but not as intense with the storm a little further to the west. Now, it still could move west, so we'll continue to monitor that for you. Until then, enjoy these comfortable days. Temperatures down into the 50s in a lot of spots. You got some 40s out there as well, even some 30s up to the far north. So make sure you grab that sweater or a jacket this morning. You're going to need that. This afternoon, you can take it off. 75 degrees will be the afternoon high with mostly sunny skies. Let's go over to Crash Clark now with the check on the traffic.
All right, my friend, we're certainly going to keep an eye on things as we get into this 6 o'clock hour. We'll start seeing a little bit more activity for us here in Atlanta. But we do want to talk about folks that are making their way from Florida. If you've got friends or family that are evacuating and heading up, GDOT, as of 10:30 last night, they changed the express lanes to stay 75 northbound. They'll remain northbound until the hurricane passes by our area here. And just so you know, the Florida Sun passes will work in the Georgia Peach Pass lanes. That's what we have right here. And you can see the northbound flow of those express lanes open and active now, and they will remain that way. And I would imagine things are going to start getting a little bit busier as Hurricane Ian continues to travel up and make landfall later on today. Aisha?
Crash, thank you. We have some new images overnight coming in from Cuba showing the island nation in a complete blackout there after Hurricane Ian slammed into the western part of the island Tuesday. It was a Category 3 then. Officials say they hope to start getting the power back on to about 11 million people later today. Cuba has been just completely battered by storm surge. The hurricane made landfall about 24 hours ago there.
Right now, people in South Florida are waking up to severe damage from overnight storms. Hurricane Ian hasn't made landfall yet, but the outer bands are already wreaking havoc. A plane was damaged badly from a tornado, possible tornado in Fort Lauderdale, and several trees have toppled. One of them crushed a car. All right, heading a bit north, this is a live look for you from Tampa, Florida. The sky is dark. There's already some rain, but very calm compared to what could come. There's a state emergency across Florida.
Bringing it back home here in Georgia, a state of emergency has already been issued as Ian moves into the area later this week. Governor Kemp says that order takes effect tomorrow.
The governor plans to tour the state operations center today to see what plans are in place to keep you and your family safe as things could take a turn for the worst. 11 Live's Ariana Manise joining us live this morning.
Ariana, so you have some new information on how FEMA is getting ready for that response. They cover a lot of areas, but we got sort of an inside look here in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning. The FEMA Region 4 Response Coordination Center is located right here in Georgia, and they tell us that they are ramping up their operations as Hurricane Ian makes landfall. Now, the Region 4 Center, it manages response efforts for about 8 states in the southeast, including Georgia, where more than 160 people representing 30 federal agencies, they work inside of this massive center, which is headquartered here. Now, FEMA says they have over 4.5 million liters of water and 4 million meals ready to be sent out. And when it comes to coordinating those efforts and getting supplies out to those impacted areas, FEMA's tell us that they have multiple teams located across the southeast on standby, monitoring, preparing, and responding once Hurricane Ian makes landfall. Take a listen.
Got your logistics team that's actually keeping track of all those trucks and commodities that are moving in different places. They're staying in touch with their state counterparts in terms of what needs there are out there. We have a finance team keeping track of the money in terms of what we're spending. It's beyond Florida. They're also posturing those resources to be able to respond wherever in the southeast they may need to go.
Now, we know hurricanes, they can be unpredictable, which is why FEMA, they are urging everyone here in the state of Georgia to visit their ready.gov website to ensure that you have a plan in place for you and your family. Back to you.
All right, Ariana, if it's any indication of what we're already seeing, we better heed those warnings. Thank you.
Molly Oak, continuing our team coverage now with a look at the evacuees coming into Atlanta from Florida ahead of the storm. I know your family is there, Molly, so everybody keeping a close eye on loved ones.
Yeah, we got family in Fort Myers, Tampa, and St. Pete, so they are definitely bracing for that hurricane. Some of them even debating evacuating. We know we talked with travelers yesterday from the Gulf Coast who already headed to Atlanta, catching one of the last flights out. When we were speaking with them, they said it was really impossible to find a rental car. The streets were already getting lined up and backed up, so they tried to try their luck with a flight out. Some of them even having to go for the standby option in hopes of getting a flight out from Tampa yesterday. Travelers tell us with areas under mandatory evacuation, flights were packed with people heading to the Peach State to stay with family.
This one I'm feeling not really good, Before it's always been, don't worry about it too much. This one is, I think, is more concern for everybody.
Yeah, a lot of concern. That last flight out of Tampa International Airport was yesterday evening, and it was headed right here to Atlanta. Tampa International closed down because of Ian. No more services happening until that storm goes through. Guys.
All right, Molly, thank you. The hurricane now forcing one metro school district to pivot to virtual learning. Clayton County Public School students are going to learn from home on Friday. This move is out of some caution.
The winds are anticipated to be very high, over 30 miles per hour, and it's very dangerous for us to have school buses on the roads when the winds are very high. So out of abundance of precaution in preparation for very windy days.
All right, another change in Clayton County because of Hurricane Ian. They are working to switch up their high school football schedule. Things are going to move a day earlier. So instead of Friday night lights, the games will be Thursday. Atlanta Public Schools and DeKalb County Schools also making changes. We have a full list of the rescheduled games online at 11alive.com. If you'd like the latest information on Hurricane Ian, just text the word Ian to the number there on your screen, 404-885-7600.
Developing in DeKalb County this morning, the school district increasing security after officials say it received several threats. The district says it's investigating the social media posts circulating that are now causing concern at Miller Grove Middle. School officials tell us they don't believe the threats are credible. However, the district is working with law enforcement to ensure safety on all campuses.
This is all new for you this morning. Atlanta police say they are investigating a deadly shooting at an apartment complex. We're told a man was shot Tuesday night about 9 o'clock at the Villages at Carver. That's on Maury Avenue Southwest. Investigators say the victim died at the scene. As of now, police have not said what led to the shooting or released details about a suspect.
It's going to be a busy day for Governor Kemp after his visit to GMA headquarters. He was going to be in West Georgia for what he's calling a major economic announcement. It's happening at the Kia plant in West Point later today. The governor will be joined by lawmakers and representatives from some Georgia businesses. We're going to hear more about that announcement, and when we do, we'll bring it to you on air and on 11alive.com.
Today, you'll be able to voice your opinion about a possible rate hike on your Georgia Power bill. Hearings continue as the commission prepares to vote on the proposed increase. This could raise your bill by $15 every month. On Tuesday, some people expressed support for the rate hike, but most people say that this move would cause more financial stress. The commission is set to vote on the move in December. If approved, it would take effect in January.
Today, the State Elections Board is going to hear updates on that investigation into an election office security breach in Coffee County. The state has removed the voting machines accessed during that breach last year. The county is going to use some new ones for the midterms, but a leading expert on election security says he still has some concerns.
Once you know something about the Coffee County election management systems, you know what's going on in every election management system in the state.
And this is video that's at the center of that breach that happened in Coffee County. State election officials say just because this happened there, they don't see this raising any more alarms about security in the upcoming election.
Hurricane Ian disrupting a highly anticipated January 6th committee hearing that was set for today. Officials say they are postponing things as Florida is bracing for the storm. The hearing, of course, takes place in Washington, D.C., but the panel says one of the members who represents a district, including Orlando, may not be able to be there. As of this morning, they've not set a new date. We'll keep you posted.
All right, Chesley, good morning to you. You know we're keeping an eye on Ian, but we got to take a minute and just take in this beautiful fall day we're going to have here at home before that change comes.
Yeah, you know, I started talking about that on Monday, that if we focus so much on Ian, we'd miss a beautiful week around here. You'd barely know it was around, right?
That's the Motivation Monday for next week. You can't look ahead and miss what's happening right now.
See, everybody getting on board. That's what I'm talking about. Teamwork, folks. Yeah, and here's your forecast for today. We're looking at sunny skies, at least to start off this morning. Temperatures very cool, even chilly in some spots. Up to the north, we have temperatures starting off in the 30s. Can you believe that? 70s as we head into the afternoon. Looking at 75 degrees for an afternoon high. We will notice the clouds increasing. High, thin clouds, but it won't take away too much from our sunshine. Another dry day with pleasant temperatures. Enjoy. Crash?
All right, it's enjoyable on the roads, too. If you got to step out, no matter what, enjoy the temperatures and then enjoy the fact that we only have one little minor miscue right here, and it's basically off to the right, partially blocking a right lane of 285 northbound near Washington Road. But as you can see as I step out of the way, not a whole lot of traffic and plenty of lanes to get around. Cheryl?
Time right now is 6:12. There are two sides to every storm, and you don't want to be on what's called the dirty side. Coming up after the break, we'll break down what this means and how your location determines your impact.
But first, what former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is saying about a new move that will lower prescription costs for millions of Medicare recipients. For the first time in more than a decade, Medicare beneficiaries will see lower health care and prescription costs. It is all part of the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act, which President Biden praised less than 24 hours ago. So this legislation is going to help seniors 65 and up and older people stay healthy without breaking their budget. Those eligible for Medicare Part B will see a reduction in those premium costs. That includes a $2,000 a year cap on prescription drugs, $35 cap on monthly supply of insulin, and get a shingles vaccination for free. Former Atlanta mayor and senior advisor to the president, Keisha Lance Bottoms, talked to us about how important this piece of legislation is to people in Georgia.
If you have a senior or someone with a disability who's having to make a decision between putting food on the table or paying their rent or getting their insulin, we don't want Georgians, Americans, we don't want anyone to have to make those decisions, make those choices.
Many of the prescription provisions added to the Inflation Reduction Act, including the cap on prescription drugs, are set to kick in next year.
Hurricane Ian could make its way here up the eastern coast, and you've told us before, Chesley, that location's everything, right, in terms of determining the impact.
Yeah, there's a good side and there's a dirty side. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not on the dirty side. Melissa Nord explains the difference.
The dirty side of a storm refers to the area of a hurricane or tropical system where you'll find the highest winds, highest storm surge, and the greatest tornado threat. So what side of the storm is that? Well, generally, it's the northeast side of the storm, or more simply put, the right side of the storm. But it also depends on which direction the storm is moving. If it's traveling in a northern direction, the dirty side will be more on the direct right-hand or eastern side. If the storm is traveling a more western direction, the dirty side will be more on top of it or the northern side. So what makes it dirty? It's all about the wind direction and a little math. For example, if a storm is moving north at 30 miles per hour and has wind speeds of 100 miles per hour, then the storm will produce winds of 130 miles per hour on the right, dirty side. While on the left side, winds will move in the opposite direction of the storm's movement, so they'll be slower at just 70 miles per hour. It's important to remember, though, as the storm grows stronger, every side becomes dangerous.
Dirty side or not dirty side still can create a mess and can create havoc for us. It's going to be a beautiful afternoon, but as the storm gets closer, what impacts will it have? I'll let you know in the full forecast straight ahead. Welcome back to the show. Cool, to say the least, for this morning. When you walk outside, you're going to feel that. If you got short sleeves on today, you're going to need that sweater. You're going to need a hoodie or maybe a light jacket. Look at these temperatures down into the low 50s in Canton, over toward Marietta, 57 degrees. One of the warm spots right here in Atlanta. You're looking at Thomaston, about the same. You're at 48 degrees in Duluth, 37 up in Blairsville, 35 even in Clayton. That's down closer to the freezing mark right there, man. Yeah, the clear skies allowing for those temperatures to fall off a little bit. Notice the clouds well east of our area, east of Athens as well. They're thin clouds, so even if we had them over us, wouldn't take away too much from our sunshine. And I think it will increase as we head into the afternoon or start to spread a little bit further over toward the west. So we'll overtake our area eventually, winding up with partly sunny skies by tomorrow. There's a storm way down here to the south. Nice, well-defined eye. This is a Category 4 monster hurricane headed toward Fort Myers. In fact, maybe just to the north of Fort Myers is where it may make landfall later on today. Let's get the particulars for the storm. Again, Category 4, which means winds up to 140 miles per hour. Gust as high as 165 miles per hour. This is the latest update as of 6 a.m. It's moving to the northeast at about 10 miles per hour. So the latest track from the Hurricane Center takes it just north of Fort Myers and then begins to move across the peninsula. Notice it dies out quickly here down to a Category 1 by the time it gets to the center portion of Florida. And then once it gets over toward Daytona Beach, down to a tropical storm, moves back out to sea, could intensify, but bends quickly back inland. You'll say over northern Georgia coastline here, Tybee Island, that area. As it makes its way up towards Jacksonville, that's when we'll start to see that storm surge, that onshore flow. So a lot of flooding could be taking place here to our extreme southeast, especially our counties there. The storm continues to push further off to the north into South Carolina. You'll notice now a lot of our state out of the cone of uncertainty. What this means is that the storm could veer a little bit more toward the west or even more toward the east. The more east this track goes, and that's the trend that we have been seeing, the better it means for us. Now, it does not mean we won't see any rain or wind. It just won't be as intense, which is a good thing for us as it continues to push further off to the north and begins to dissipate as we head into Sunday. So again, a good track for us as far as our weather goes. Look at the models here. They're all in agreement, bringing the storm out to sea and then back on shore. So we'll watch that, but again, keeping it away from our area, or at least east of our area. So we'll get some rain and wind, likely late Friday going into Saturday is when we'll see that. So we'll keep you updated on that. You look at the rain from our models here. This is the U.S. model, which keeps the heavy rain over towards South Carolina along the coastline there. The European model, just about the same. You can see right along the coastline is where we'll see that heavy rain. For us, according to this particular model, anywhere from a ½ inch to about 2 inches of rainfall possible for our area. So we'll be watching that again late Friday going into Saturday is when we could see that around our area, and our winds would be more gusty instead of sustained winds at 30 miles per hour. You're talking about gust at times, maybe up to 30, 35 miles per hour. That's a little bit more sustainable. Crash, over to you.
All right, my friend, we're starting to see a little bit more activity out here in the rush hour. Not a whole lot of wrecks or stalls, but we're starting to see some folks get on the roads. Let's go ahead and check the big three for you. We'll talk about 75, Georgia 400, and I-85. Looking really good as folks make their way in from those northern burbs. In fact, look at those speeds averaging in the 70s. Watch your speed out there. Of course, 85 dropping a little bit. That's because that's one of the first places we see some volume. That's why you guys are down to 53 miles an hour from 316 to the junction. Still 13 quick minutes in condition green. I did see this, though. There are crews. You could see that white powdery substance there. It looks like a drying agent. Might have had a fuel spill or something out there on the road. This is the Pleasant Hill ramp to 85 southbound. The good news is that ramp is open. Just be a little bit careful as you head through. Folks, we're coming right back. Don't go away.
After a 2-year pause because of the pandemic, Delta's iconic pink plane is back in the skies to help in the fight against breast cancer. 150 survivors and employees put on their pink and hopped on board Delta's Breast Cancer One flight. And I'm telling you, if that's what they did on the ground, I know it was a party in the sky. The airline celebrated the special passengers on a flight from Atlanta to Salt Lake City, Utah, Tuesday morning. It is all to kick off Delta's month-long fundraising effort to support the Breast Cancer Research Foundation.
Freddie the Falcon in the middle of it all there.
Right.
Love the dancing. The Atlanta Hawks want you to come watch them hit the court. The Hawks are hosting an open practice tonight at State Farm Arena. Your chance to get a first look at this year's team, including superstar Trae Young and the team's new all-star guard, DeJounte Murray. Gates open at 6, tickets $5 on Ticketmaster.com. Chesley?
Yeah, go Hawks, right? All right, look at our temperatures. We'll be comfortable this afternoon, well into the 70s. I'm thinking right around 75 degrees for an afternoon high today. We'll be a bit breezy at times. Things are a-changing, folks. We'll talk about that in the full forecast coming up.
Plus, is the hurricane driving up gas prices? Coming up at 6:40, we verify the facts about the storm's impact.